Okay, what we got here is a 2008 Lincoln Town Car. My upper vents stopped blowing cold or blowing air. The AC was blowing cold, but it was what they call the blend door actuator motors. This car has 5 of them. This video is intended to be sort of a supplement to the other videos that are online. There's some other people that do these things. We'll talk about removing the dash. I thought I would just go over this one more time because I like all the small details, and they were lacking in a lot of stuff. So let's kind of start from the beginning. Now, I'm doing this video after the fact, right? I'm in the process of repairing this car. I ordered the parts this morning, but I thought I would just do some things while the car is apart, and you're going to just have to kind of do it in reverse. So when I started doing this job, the first thing I did was there's a decorative panel up here, and it pries off, right, guys? So you know all these pry tools, you get in here and you pry it up, and it's got all those metal clips. That pries up, and then you get access to a few screws that are up here, and they have to come off. This front dash panel, the same thing, the fake wood grain, whatever, those pry off with the tool. And all the clips go in these square holes, right? Okay, so that pried off that. I took out the radio. I mean, if your upper air vents are working, you probably won't have to take out the radio and stuff. I took everything out because I just didn't know, all right? So this whole panel from here, from the airbag over, pries off. The radio comes out. Most of the screws are 7mm. All that stuff comes off. The wiring harnesses are unique in size, and they can only go back in a certain place, so you can't confuse anything. Here's your clock wire, whatever. So once you get the dash pulled apart, you're going to get to the airbag, and this is the first place where I ran into some problems, or challenges, should I say. It has 2 screws through the bottom here, so you have to take the glove box off to get access to those screws. There's a harness. I would recommend you disconnect your battery anytime you're playing with airbags. You don't want the things to detonate accidentally. I don't know if they can or they couldn't or what, but I know they're wicked expensive and I don't feel like buying one. So I disconnected the car battery. I'll deal with resetting the clock and all my pre-programmed radio stations. That's not a big deal. All right, so the airbag, you get the 2 screws on the bottom. It has 2 steel clips. Once again, tension, friction clips, you know. You have to tug on that thing like you can't believe to get it out. I mean, those are some stiff clips. Okay, once you pull that out, you can get to the passenger side air vent. Do not try to pry this part off. You'll break it. Once you remove the airbag, you'll get access to a screw. There's actually 1 screw and 3 clips. Those, once again, you pry those clips off, but you'll start to pry it off and you'll think it's not coming off. What's going on? And you can't see it until you remove the airbag. So airbag comes out, then this vent comes out. There's a duct work back here. If your upper blend door actuator motors are good, you won't have to do that. In fact, you can actually get to this one through the glove box. You don't even have to pull the dash. I had to pull the dash because of my upper one. So there's one here. You see the white label? There's another one here on your big air intake where it takes in the air, recirculation intake. So this one's good in my car. The 2 upper ones, I suspect they're bad. There are videos online that show you how to do a diagnostic by pressing a certain combination on a Lincoln, and it will give you codes. My codes indicated bad blend door actuators, just one of them, or both of them, pardon me. And anyway, so you'll pull that out, you remove the panels, you start taking out screws. For the dashboard itself, what you want to do is you have 2 screws over there. So once again, once you get all those parts out, they're big bolts. You'll have to pull that out. And you come on this side, there's a bolt that goes in on the side up here. Maybe you can see my finger, goes in here. And then there's a stud down here. You're going to have to pull off the decorative floor molding here. Pull the carpet back. You've got a couple of wiring harnesses here. The upper ground screw, and you have your antenna wire, which unplugs here as well. Once you take that off, remove those screws, you'll be pretty good. You got to drop the steering column, so there's 4 bolts for that. There's a steel plate under that has to come down. There's also 2 bolts on this side. You can see where there's like a little square. You won't be able to see because of the lighting. But there are 2 bolts. There's a decorative carpeting thing that goes over that. Those bolts have to come out. And what else? So I took that out. Told you that this doesn't pry off until you remove the airbag. The screws for the airbag are underneath. Glove box light and all that stuff has to, the wires. Just take your time. It's not a hard job. And it looks very intimidating because of all of the stuff that you have to take out. But that's not the case. All right. It's not really that difficult. You know, I'm retired too, so I have plenty of time. I also have a spare car, so it's not a big deal to me to have this car down for a few days. Okay, this is the whole point of this video right here. This is the upper section of the dashboard. When you pull this dashboard back, it'll be on a 30-degree angle roughly. It'll be resting on the seat. Doesn't really come off that much on that side, but you still have to take the screws off because you have to be able to swing the dash onto the seat. There are videos, other people have done videos, and they show that. So hopefully you watch a few other videos, and between all of them, you can piece this job together and see that's not a big deal. All right, so getting back to the centerpiece. I got hung up on this. Once you pull the dashboard back, you'll see this actuator. There's a motor there. There's one on the other side. There's also a tube. You can see there's a little round hole there. That's a tube. Actually connects to this temperature sensor. I guess it pulls the air through and it monitors the air temperature. That pulls off like a vacuum cleaner line. Two blend door motors. There's one on this side. There's a screw at the very bottom, kind of over my arm. You can see that. And there's 2 screws here on the front. There's a tab that comes through the dashboard right there. See it? This tab. It kind of comes through here in the dash and it attaches there. So that's easy enough. But anyway, I got all those screws out and I'm thinking I'm trying to move this behind the dashboard and I'm like, that stupid thing, it's felt like it was attached. Well, right here where my thumb is, there's a screw. You can't see this screw. Nobody talks about this online. There's a guy that has another video. It's what it is and where it's located or something. It's another YouTube video on the subject of blend door and Lincoln repairs. Anyway, a screw right there by your thumb. That screw happens to be above the clock hole here. This is the clock wire. Your clock mounts here. You'll notice I drilled a hole here. Not 100% necessary to do that, but boy, it will make your life a lot easier. You can, and it took me a long time to figure this out, but you can get your hand back in here. You see my hand going through the glove box. Here's my finger. That's the hole. Here's the clock hole. This hole's here. This is a hole I drilled. It's about 1-inch hole. The screw for that holds that upper part in, you can get a ratchet with an extension and a swivel in here and you can remove it. So once again, a ratchet with a swivel, 7mm I believe it is, and off it comes. Then this piece will drop down. These ducts here that are part of the dashboard, when this part fits in, it goes behind it and it shields these blend actuator motors. You can't see these from below. The center stack, as I'm calling it, the center airflow control, once again, the motor over here, you can see there's also a motor on the driver's side. A little bit more difficult to get to, but it's there and you can remove it. There's also another blend door actuator here. So there's a total of 5 motors. Obviously, if you're this one you can get to easy enough through the glove box. You don't have to pull the dashboard off. And same for the air intake, if you will. But a heater core is in there and all that. But once again, that screw that goes right here by my thumb, oh my goodness. I got so hung up on that. I'm sure other people did too. So one other thing I wanted to tell you was about the steering column. issue, and a couple of people talk about this online as well, is you have your indicator here, you know, your drive, you know, drive, reverse, neutral, park, all that stuff. That's inside the instrument cluster, your speedometer and all that. You can actually, if you get a pick, I got a pick here. I used one of this, one with a 90 degree. You can get behind it and lift these little tabs. You'll know what I'm talking about when you look at it. You can pry gently, the thing's fragile. You can pry the plastic off the front of the gauges, instrument panel, whatever you want to call it. And then you can you squeeze on these little tabs on the side of this indicator, gear shift indicator, and out it comes. A lot easier doing that than pulling it off the column. It's bad enough pulling the column down. Before you drop the column, you'll see there's some white vacuum lines that go along here. You'll have to just remove the fasteners. They just got these little clips. You just have to pull them down, because I think when you drop the steering column, you'll put too much tension on it and you might cause problems. I'm not sure, but better safe than sorry, because a car this age, it's hard to get certain parts for. I was fortunate that I could order the blend door actuators off of Rock Auto. They're roughly about $35 each. The current parts as of this recording are correct on Rock Auto, and I'm recording this in February of 2022. So the part numbers are correct and they were available. So I figured while I'm ripping this dashboard off and crawling behind here, that I would replace all 4 of them. I never want to go behind here again. So I think that's it. I told you guys about the wiring harnesses down here. I told you about the screw there. There is a duct here. Not really necessary to take off. I did, not knowing, but it really doesn't have to come off. It does make life easier to get to this if you have to do this blend actuator motor, but not necessary. You'll see it. I mean, anyone that's going to tackle a job like this is going to be somewhat mechanically inclined. I don't think a novice would take on such a big job like this, because there's a lot of parts. It's intimidating. I did put some stuff in baggies and label them and all that. But hopefully that will explain the problems I ran into by drilling that 1-inch hole. You're able to get a socket in here. Once again, get to that top screw. You can see I'm really hung up on this because, oh my God, I spent hours on it. But that will help you guys, and I'll cut it off here because I'm kind of being repetitive. But hopefully this information will fill any gaps that you may have had when watching the other videos. Bye for now.